Okay, so welcome everyone to first of many workshops here at Tilda Center. This workshop is going to be based on working some backend in Python. So yeah, today we will take a look what are we gonna be doing, how to start the project basically, and it's gonna be really quick. So yeah, there's nothing more to say. It can probably be integrated with front-end workshops. So yeah, let's take a look what we have in store for you, and let's get running. Okay, so we have Freenit. What is Freenit? Let's take a look. This is this is a repository on PyP. It's framework based on Flask. It's framework based on Flask that Goran Makic created. So basically, learning Freenit is learning Flask and learning using Flask in the backend. Only what Freenit does for you, it makes stuff easier because Flask is really modular and you have lots of choices. So with Freenit you think less. Second. Well, just give me a second. Okay, I think I closed the window, so I hope now the traffic outside won't be heard. Okay, where was I? Yeah, so having Flask, it's quite modular, so you have a lot of stuff to think about how to create everything, what you're gonna do. Well, for someone who's new at programming, who's new at all this stuff, it can be quite complicated to start and then look, oh, okay, I have all this, and what am I gonna do with database? What am I gonna do with some communication? How am I gonna implement that API or whatever? So Freenit does that for us. It helps us. It has everything in it. It has even some basic functionality that you will probably need on every project you create. So you can just start, spin it up, and have the core of application running, which you can actually build later on something bigger or something you actually need. So yeah, we can take a look on this website. Here is a little schema how that actually looks, where we will, through our classes, we will take a look at every part of this schema. We will, maybe wrong, it's not the best word schema because we have schema here, but this graph actually. Yeah, through our workshop we will take a look at every part of this. We will see how that communication goes. We will see how, when you send a request to our backend that we will be creating, we will see how it flows, how we handle the data, how we input the data into that database, or how we search through database to get the data back to the front end or something similar. Basically everything that we need to know to create some blog, your personal website or something like that. So yeah, here there is a little information about the project, what's interesting, how it works. You can also always check it on GitHub because it's open source. You can see release history. It's still in progress. There are still some bugs happening, but not many. It's really working well. So yeah, let's take a look and actually start our app. Okay, so how do we get Freenit? We know it exists somewhere on the website, and we know it exists on some GitHub page, but why it exists here on PyP. It's because we can actually install it something like this. If we are basically using Linux or FreeBSD, we don't have Windows support, unfortunately, but I don't know, not many of us actually use Windows, so basically that's the reason. And for actually for most of developments, any kind of programming that you do on FreeBSD or Linux, it's much easier to start, it's much easier to actually work. So yeah, I recommend getting familiar with Linux or FreeBSD for any kind of programming. So yeah, how do you actually install it? Well, pip is a program that installs Python tools. So we go pip install minus user minus u Freenit SQL in this square brackets. That is if you are running it on FreeBSD. If you are running it on Linux, of course, maybe on your particular distro of Linux there will be something different. I'm sorry. There will be something different, and that is if you already have a pip3 default, actually Python 3 default and stuff like that. I will let you figure that out. I think it's not that complicated to figure it out. So yeah, on default it's pip3 install, basically the same, only you tell it to use Python 3, not Python 2, because Python 2 is long gone and should be forgotten. Okay, so now that we run that command, and I can actually run it here. I'm here on this PC. I'm on Linux because I think it's easier to most of you are gonna be on Linux and it's easier for you to see, but if you prefer, or if anyone prefers, I can do these workshops on FreeBSD too. I don't mind. So yeah, this is it. I run the command, it installs everything, it installs all dependencies, and now we have Freenit. What we do with it? Well, Freenit is installed in this directory here, your home directory .local bin Freenit, and on Linux, I know, I don't think on FreeBSD that's the problem, but on Linux this path is not in your default paths. So what you need to do is add it actually, so you can run it anywhere on your command line. So yeah, just Google it, find a way to add it. It's two commands, it's one command, it's really simple. So add that, so you can actually type Freenit and it will do its magic. What it is, that magic? Let's see. Let's take a look. So how do you actually use the Freenit? We have installed it. We have everything here, and oops. And you can take a look here. We have that script that is Freenit, but we actually need to run it, right? So when you go into the directory you want actually to create the project, you basically run freenit.sh, you give it a name, and you tell it, okay, I want to use SQL as my database. For now, let's leave it as SQL. Maybe in the future we will talk about possibility, because Freenit has the option to run as SQL and also as non SQL databases. But for now, let's keep it simple. Let's use standard SQL. On Linux, it's a little bit different because Linux still hasn't changed the default Python version to 3. So we have something like this. Basically, shell is the same Freenit, then your project name, then SQL, and it will create your project. What happens there? Okay, it creates a lot of directories. It creates a lot of files that are maybe unfamiliar to you, that maybe confuse you, but don't worry. Let's take a look. If we delete this and go, because I'm on Linux, I will be running this kind of command. So you see, We have Pi version 3.7, Freenit SH, okay, first project, and SQL. And when I do it, okay, this is something we will take a look into and see. Basically, it tries to create a directory twice, and it doesn't create any errors. It just needs a little work, and it creates a directory, as you can see. And in that directory, as you saw on the picture here, we have a lot of files that do something. Now, when you take a look here, there is a special file name.py, which if we take a look now, it uses our app name. Why is app name important? Well, the way the Flask is working and the way we need to serve, the way we need to work with our project, it needs to have a name so we can run it and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter for you to start actually developing. Basically your goal now, let's get into the code as fast as possible, let's get into how stuff works as fast as possible, and then when you are a little more stable, when you understand a little bit better what you're doing during the development process, you can actually branch out and see, wait, how do I actually create something, how can I change something that I don't like, or stuff like that. But to get there, we first need to start small. Let's accept stuff as Freenit gives us, and let's take a look at some of the code. Let's take a look at some of the functions it already has, or how do we actually create a new functionality. Because I mean, backend development is already kind of abstract. When you do front end, you see what you're doing, you see what you're creating, and when you are working on backend, it can be confusing a lot of the times, because there's a lot of logic, there's a lot of thinking, how do you want to implement something, and it's confusing as is by itself, so you don't need for now any more confusion on how to actually set up everything. That Freenit does for you, it does it really well, so we just jump into it and start coding. And yeah, that's about it. So of all of these files, you have the directory first project, or whatever you named it, and you take a look inside of it, which we will do right now. Those are the files most interesting to you. So we are now in our directory, in our project directory, and we have another directory named the same. So when we go inside that one, what we have here, okay, we have some of the files here, and maybe this is something familiar to you if you have done some programming before. We have some APIs, we have some models, we have some schemas, stuff like that. This is actually the part of the files where you edit, where you create new files, where you create new API endpoints, where you actually have models for your database, or schemas for all the communication. We will go through every single one of those. We will talk how it works. We will see how we actually create something. But for today, we are actually gonna just run this project without editing anything, without changing any of maybe we can change something, see how that works, but I don't think there's too much to change as is right now. We can play around it later, but yeah. So now we will be running the project and actually looking how to start basically getting ready for next week, because on the next week when we actually start coding, if you are following at home, it would be really well to have your application started and set up, and Freenit set up before the application, before the live stream. So yeah, how do we actually run the application? So on FreeBSD side, which I don't have on this presentation, I forgot. On FreeBSD side, basically it uses CBSD, it uses jails to run your application. So there is Reggae that does magic for you. It has you basically just tell him, okay, you use makefile, you tell him, okay, make devil, and it creates everything. It starts the jails, it starts the services, and you just run the app. It mounts everything in its place. On Linux side, there's a little bit more that we need to do. So there is two scripts. One is init sh, one is devel sh. As you see, they are both in bin directory. So when I go back and go inside the bin directory, I have here init sh and devel sh. For you, you don't care about any of this different scripts. They are used by devel or by init to actually set up everything, to set up the environment. You don't care about it. You just care about these two. What does init do? It initializes basically everything. It downloads dependencies. It creates everything. It creates an environment. It creates the database, and the devel sh actually starts the development server so you can actually test your changes and see if there are errors or something like that, and there will be. So basically from our root directory, we're gonna run bin init, and we let it do its magic. This is one remarkable piece of code, because under everything it does so much for you. You don't have to think at all you have to do is just start coding, and that's perfect, because there's nothing, if you wanna do coding, there's nothing more frustrating when you need to actually set up everything instead of actually doing the work you want. So yeah, this is what Freenit does for you. It does the work for you, so you can actually just code. So we have done the bin init. As you see, it done some migrations. It has done something. So when we run bin devel, we actually start our application. This is now the application is running on this URL for me. We will see what the Swagger is. We will take a look at this link. Now, the important thing is, if you kill this right now, we have stopped our app. We can't work on it. So best thing you can do is actually just take one terminal, run bin init, run bin init, then after that run bin devel, and just leave it at that, and then you can actually do some work. Okay, as you see, I have started the application, and it's running, and I can actually use this terminal to actually go in directories up and down, left, right, and edit files and actually make the changes I want. What's important thing, you don't need to kill the server every time you make a change. It is smart enough, so you edit something, you save it, it's smart enough to notice the change and to refresh the server, and you can basically refresh the page and check it again. So yeah, we have run the app. As you can see, this is the output that we have. It shows us the URL, which is useful. You just click on it, you don't need to remember it. And yeah, so this is what is actually Swagger. Swagger is another plugin for that Freenit uses, plugin software, piece of software that uses in conjunction with other stuff we have in the backside. So what it does for us, we will take a look at it. What it does for us, because you have you have your API. You have your API endpoint, and to actually test it, you need to use some kind of software to send some kind of request for it. Many people use Postman, which I really don't like, because you need to manually enter every single part of your request that you want to send. While Swagger, when done right, it can be really useful, because it recognizes your API endpoints, it recognizes how they need to be structured, and autofills your data for you. So basically what you need to change is just the data that will be probably filled in the front end, sent to the backend and stuff like that. So you can really quickly and really easily test your backend application with it without worrying about manually sending requests and similar stuff. Okay, so when we go to this URL, we have our Swagger first project. And what do we have? So usually, most of the time when you start the project, your API endpoints will be blank. You will have nothing here. Nothing of this would exist. Why? Because you need to create it. So again, what Freenit does for you, not only just set up not only does it set up the Flask environment for proper working with backend in Python, it collects every package for database and everything. It also creates some basic API endpoints, some basic stuff that you will need to actually create your application. As you see, we have some, it's all separated in some, let me do something like this so it's easier to, yeah, so it's all separated in these 4 categories. Of course, while we are developing, we will have some more categories down here added. Okay, we will not take a look at schemas. What this does is basically, if you take a look at authentication sector, we have description for everything. We can log in, we can log out, we can refresh our token for login, we can register a new user, confirm new user, reset password, we can send a request for password reset and stuff like that. We can get user details and we can edit user details. Now we have some rules to limit who can do what on the website. Basically, whenever you have a site, you have some sort of roles needed. And here is again listing users, creating users and stuff like that. Some of these, basically, before you send a valid request, for example, delete user, you need to be logged in as admin or similar. So to do that, we can actually check it out here in our authentication part. Of course, when you have a front-end app and you have something like this, if you think about it, before I continue this part, if you think about it, you run this Freenit app bare bones, without anything added, just this, and you can go into Freenit Designer, you can create login page connected with this backend, and it just works. We already have authentication, so we can actually create a front-end app. We can create login page, we can create admin page where you actually can delete users, add users, we can create password reset and stuff like that. So yeah, even without editing a single piece of code, Freenit gives us option to actually have an important part of application. We will take a look how this actually works, and we will during our workshop we will also implement not the same stuff because it already exists, but we will implement new features, and you will see how I will try to help you imagine how that piece of code and this piece of minimum backend, minimum front end we have actually can be looked from front end point of view, and how someone who does front end is it you or is it someone else can take a look and think, okay, I have this data, I can actually now do something with it, or I am sending this data to the backend. We as backend programmers, we take a look at it, and then we know how to deal with it and what to do with it, so we can actually return something valid for our front end person to actually do something with it, maybe put it in a table or whatever. I don't care. Okay, so we wanted to log in, and what Swagger does for us, if you see here, using our schema, we will take a look a little later and down the line on new workshops. We'll take a look what that is, but using our schema, it predicts how our JSON needs to look. Basically, our application is going to be communicating with our front end via JSON. So every request we send, it's going to be in JSON format. It's quite simple. There's nothing more to talk about. It's being used everywhere nowadays. So yeah, it tells you how the request should look. It tells you what is an example of your response, and how, see, we have when everything is okay, something like this will come back. We have when something is wrong, we have something like this. So we can now actually, without even sending anything, without even actually running, we are running the app, but without actually using any part of application, we can now already get some information. How does that work? Okay, I'm sending some data. Okay, if that is working correctly, I know what to expect. So while coding, because this part of Swagger is actually recognized from your code, you're right. While coding, you can just take a look at this. Maybe now it's confusing, but when we actually start working on it, it will be more understandable. You can take a look at this and actually realize, oh, okay, I messed up. I don't want this kind of response to be back. I want something different. Okay, I can go back into the code, change something. See how that affects my response. So yeah, okay, enough ranting. Let's try it out as it says. So basically, as Freenit comes with these API endpoints and some basic functionality, it also comes with your basic user, basic test user, and that user is admin@example.com, and his password is something like this. It will exist for everyone who runs the project through Freenit SH. And yeah, that is one thing that init sh script does for you. It populates the database. You actually have this user and you can use it. So now that we filled our JSON in format that we want, as you see, I just changed this and I changed the password and I click execute, and that's it. Now I sent a request through our backend. If we take a look here, it gave us some information, what's going on there. If there was an error, it will jump out here, it will tell us something. During your development, you will need to learn to deal with errors. You will understand them better more and more you work with. So yeah, now what happens when you click execute? You have here example doing the same with curl, and you can do it. I don't see the reason why when you have Swagger, but okay. And here is our response. We have our status code, we have body of our response, okay, we have time it will expire, we have a string that will refresh our expiry, and we have some headers that came with it too. Okay, that's cool. So we logged in. Now I know it's confusing, but yes, we are logged in. We don't have a user icon here, we have nothing, but when we actually start making some code, we can actually check whether we are logged in or not, and then actually validate whether we can do or don't not do some action. So this is the part where you are logged in. Why we don't have nothing fancy showing us? Well, because this is not the front end. We don't care. Let the front end do its magic, and let him tell us we are logged in. We just want our functionality as backend. We want everything to work. So yeah, I guess that's it. We are logged in, and then we can actually list users, I guess. So when we list users, we can tell, okay, I want 0 page, I want 10 users per page. It's enough because we have nothing, because all we have is one user in our database. See, we have status code 200, and here it is. It gave us back an object with our user admin at example.com. It has one page, it showed us one person. So yeah, that's it. If I try to log out, we can try it. I log out. We are logged out. And then if we try to list users, see, this is what I wanted. Now, because we have logged out and tried the same thing that returned user to us a few seconds ago, now we tried the same thing, and what it tells us, hey, you are unauthorized. You are missing access token, you cannot view this page. So now if we log back in again, we can try it again and actually get our users back. Actually, our user. So yeah, you can run the basic application, and okay, we are logged in again. Let's collapse this so it doesn't confuse us. We are back here. As you see, we were unauthorized, and now we click execute. Okay, we got our data back again because we are logged in. As I was saying, we don't have any visual representation, but we have that access token and we are logged in. So yeah, you can run the app, you can play around with it, you can try stuff here and there. Don't worry even if you break something, if you delete user or something like that. You can always, because now we didn't edit anything, we didn't change anything, this is just the default Freenit app. You can just delete the whole project and start all over again and try functionalities, try how it works, and understand how this Swagger works. It's gonna be your help all over, all the time during the development. So yeah, before the end credits, I wanna take a look. I wanna come back here and take a look in here. So here we have, oh, we don't have nothing. Let's take a look into the, no, not this one. I wanna take a look at walls. Okay, yeah, we can, let me do something first. I want to show you a little bit of code. How does everything look? Okay, so if we go here, okay, this is, I guess, too little of a font, so let's do something like this. Okay, I have opened here are what actually Freenit uses to what my brain fumbled. What actually Freenit uses to authenticate, and basically the function we use right now when we try to log in. And as you see here, this is something we will write in the future. I'm not gonna go through this, I'm not gonna explain this, it's too early for that. We will start with simpler stuff, but this is a code that we just used. As you see, it gets some email, it gets some password, and it logs you in. It checks your database and it logs you in. It stores some cookie or something like that. See, you have log out, that unsets the cookie, and stuff like that. So this kind of code we will be writing in the future. And yeah, you can actually, if you go to here, and I guess I don't want to download files, I want to do something like this. For example, you can actually go in here and take a look at the same code. Basically, how does all this work? This is the same file we just looked into, and you can look how does that actually work if you want, if you're interested. If you're new, it's probably gonna be confusing. If you have been doing some kind of backend before and this is just your take on doing it in Flask, you will understand probably some more. But yes, basically that's all we have for today. If you're interested, try running the app, try installing Freenit, and try messing around. So next week we will start actually editing these files, creating new ones, and making changes to our backend infrastructure. So yeah, thank you for visiting, thank you for listening. As you know, maybe you don't, Tilda Center is open source community. We are hackerspace. We are currently without a home, so we have a Patreon page, that Tilda Center, without spaces, without anything. If I put it in correctly, yes, we have Patreon page now. We are trying to gather money so we get our new apartment. We are educational society, and we had our workshops live. Now unfortunately we can't, and we want to go back towards that. So if you can spare any dollar, if you can help us, it would be appreciated. Of course, Tilda workshops are always gonna be free. That is our goal. We share knowledge. We don't take money for, basically, I don't know. That's about it. So yeah, thanks everyone, and see ya next week.